So I decided to do this one. This one's a bit older, but it happened from Canada. And this is one of those things where anyone who's not fucking retarded already knows what's going to happen. But basically, it's one of those trans athletes that went into a women's sport. And the biggest problem is, I'm going to say it, 9 out of 10 times the trans athlete is going to win. It's basically guaranteed on the silver platter. And it's sad that like girls and women have to deal with this bullshit because of like crazy liberal women that think there is nothing wrong with someone who's born biologically male competing in sports. This is one of these things where if you believe there is no advantage at all given to them, you are just dead wrong and delusional. But let's get into this.
Male powerlifter entered the women's event and broke all the records. Let's talk about it.
Now, this is Nate the lawyer, though. He an OG. I really like him.
So this is Avi Silverberg. Now, he is the head coach for Team Canada's powerlifting team, and he's been in that position for about 10 years. Now, this is the Canadian Powerlifting Union and their trans inclusion policy. So without reading the entire policy, it essentially says that an athlete gets to tell the organizers what their gender identity is, and the organizers have to allow them to participate in the events with the gender that they identify with. So if you're a
So that should be pretty straightforward. You tell them you're a female and you're basically in. And this is one of those cases where it's so specifically vague that anybody can join it without any issues at all. And this is where the main crux of the problem happens, which is that they should have just had an open league and then let trans athletes join in that. That's literally it. But the problem is when you go to specifically a women's league, everybody fucking knows this. Men are generally stronger, men are generally faster, men are pretty much better at women at almost every sport imaginable. And anyone who tries to tell you just because like one or two exceptions exist, or like just because like I don't know, someone like Ronda Rousey could beat an average guy doesn't mean that she could beat like a guy with even half the training. Like, there always are some exceptions, but some people base their entire ideals off of an exception makes the rule, like, not count. So, like, as I said, men are generally stronger than women. They would point out, oh, actually, this woman beat this guy, therefore all women beat this guy. Like, no, that's not how it works. But let's get into this.
biological male and you say, I identify as a woman, then they must allow you to compete with the women in that event. The policy also makes it clear that, quote, individuals are not required to disclose their trans identity or history to the CPU or to any of the CPU's representatives. So, in a nutshell, the Canadian Powerlifting Union is just going to take your word for it. If you want to compete with the women and you're a biological male, you just tell them, I identify as a woman, and they'll let you compete. So this policy allowed trans women to compete with women in powerlifting. Now, this is Annie Andrews. She was the record holder in women's powerlifting in Canada. The record for a bench press that she held was 275 pounds. Now, Annie...
And you could clearly see, this was definitely a man who transitioned. And you can just tell from the shape of the body and everything that he is going to win. He is going to beat any and every woman in that competition. Like, with absolutely zero... zero exceptions. He's gonna beat them on pretty much everything. And yeah.
Andrews won 8 out of 9 competitions she entered in the women's category over the past 4 years. So now enter Avi Silverberg. He goes to the women's competition and he says, well, hey, even though I look like this, I identify as a woman. And he is allowed to compete in the women's competition. He then goes on to shatter Annie Andrews' record of 275 pounds on the bench press by bench pressing nearly 370 pounds, making him the current women's record holder by nearly 100 pounds. Now, here's the video of him going and breaking the women's bench pressing record in Canada. with a lift of 370 pounds. Check it out.
Ooh. Yeah, let's get into this. Lift. Whoa. Damn. As expected.
Yeah, he pumped that like it was not even a problem. So after he casually bench pressed at 370, breaking the record by nearly 100 pounds, then
Damn.
people got really
And why is
upset
that?
at Avi. They said that he was making a mockery of the sport. And
Wait a minute, he's making a mockery of the sport? A mockery? And you're letting the other person who's trans just go in whenever they want to, doing whatever records they want? He's the one making a mockery of the sport?
to even throw more salt in the wound, the former record holder was right there and had a front row seat to watch him do it, to watch her record go down in flames. Now, Andreas felt that this was so wrong that they allowed a man to break her record. She actually posted.
Imagine the fucking audacity. Oh, you allowed a man into a woman's sport and he's making a mockery of it, and this is unfair. Says the man in a woman's sport making a mockery of it, making it unfair in the first place. Making it so that women never win a competition in sports that are exclusively meant for them. Like,
a
bro,
lengthy video about it, calling him a coward and a bigot because he did this with malicious intent as a biological man competing in.
hey, it's a trans woman. Don't stop being such a transphobic bigot, you fat fuck. God damn. I swear, some of the transphobia out here crazy.
The woman's category. You heard exactly right. Matter of fact, listen to it yourself.
Hey folks, just a super quick update. Yes, somebody did show up at the meet today with malicious intent. And you know what? It was nothing. It was just entirely ignored. People lifted. I volunteered. Everyone was happy that I was there. And it really struck me that maybe my participation isn't necessarily fair. I mean, there's science.
It was never fair to begin with. You made a mockery of this sport, and so this guy went and broke your record, and now you're acting butthurt because a stronger man than you outlifted you. That is where you're having a problem. Because you're competing with biological women in a sport that was meant for them. You have ruined any chance they've ever had at winning trophies, winning gold, at succeeding at anything, all because of your participation. And it's not primarily your fault. It's the fault of the organizers in general that allowed this to happen.
Whatever. But people welcome me because I'm actually nice to people. I show up and I try to make everyone happy. And I think that matters a hell of a lot more than people give it credit for. People want me there because I'm actually nice to people. Just a little thought. I'm all good, and the CPU will continue, and be nice to each other. Lift heavy circles.
APU, with the situation with that one lifter claiming to be trans just to get those medals and setting records and all that stuff. Here's the problem. You shouldn't really be asking me because I ultimately, I mean, weird thing to say, I come from a place of privilege, which, like I said, is weird to say. You gotta keep in mind, I transitioned almost 20 years ago.
Yeah, and you still look like you could beat those girls in a competition pretty easily, man. And this is the problem where A lot of people just want to ignore the science, the bone structure, the muscle mass, testosterone, like all these things that give you such a raw, unfair advantage over women. The problem is the women's empowerment movement has become so inclusive to the point they've literally included people that will destroy them in every single one of their competitions easily, and they call it empowerment. It's not empowerment. Just accept it. You took the L, and that women and men should not be competing in the same sports because women are pretty much guaranteed losing almost every single time. Almost every fucking sport. Like, it's pretty much guaranteed.
I got all of my papers done. I have my passport. I got surgery. I can prove without any doubt whatsoever that I have gone through every step.
Now, Andreas goes on to say that I actually care about women in sport because I am a woman in sport. Now, it's time for us to keep it 100. There's a reason why we have men's sports and women's sports. We understand that there are biological differences between the genders that would make it unfair for us to just have one sport for one gender, right? We don't have women's soccer and men's soccer and they compete in the same league for the one World Cup, right? There's a women's World Cup and a men's World Cup. Now, I do understand. You have people who transition from male to female or from female to male, and they still want to compete in sports. I understand that, and I do feel sorry for those.
Like, as I said, they should just make an open league and that's it. And most likely it's just going to be men winning the open league. Or if they want, they could make a trans-only league. That literally is how you fix it. The problem with entering the women's league, as I said, is you have unfair advantages that they never will. They never will. Women will never win a sport against a trans athlete, especially if he went through his full puberty before transitioning. They will never win.
Those who want to. But how do you fix the problem of the reality of biological differences? Men are faster, stronger, and it's not because of any bias, it's because of biology. Testosterone makes the difference. Now, I do understand that this woman wants to compete with other women, but is that really fair to all those other women who are competing, who didn't have the benefit of going through puberty as a male, having that higher bone density, having all of those advantages as a male? And I think it's interesting because even this trans athlete admits that it's unfair. Listen to her again. Listen to her. She's going to admit that her competing against biological women is unfair. Listen to it.
Everyone was happy that I was there. And it really struck me that maybe my...
And this is one of those things, too, where, oh, it's unfair that I'm there, but I try to make people happy. Like, this is the equivalent of playing chess, using a chess engine for pretty much every move you have right in front of your opponent, and then being like, oh, it's actually good that I am doing this because I try to make people feel happy afterward. It doesn't matter that they can see that they're never gonna beat me because I have Stockfish on my phone and shit. No, what matters is that I make them feel good after horribly fucking destroying them. That's what matters.
Participation isn't necessarily fair. I mean, there's science, whatever. But people welcome me because I'm actually nice to people.
Now, just to be clear, she is admitting that she has an unfair advantage based on biology. That's what she's saying. And that unfair advantage allows her to have all the records in women's powerlifting. And she's essentially saying she should get a pass because she's nice and people like her. But what about the competition? What about all those other women who don't have that biological advantage? Should they just be forgotten? It's fascinating because, again, I do understand and I do have sympathy for this athlete. But how do you fix the problem? That's the real question here. Now, the Independent Council on Women's Sports, which is a network of women's athletes and supporters advocating for female protected categories in sports. In other words, they're saying biological women should only compete against biological women, they praised the move. They wrote this: former record holder and trans-identified male Annie Andrews had a front row view of Silverberg mocking the discriminatory CPU policy by also unofficially breaking the women's world record in the event.
And another thing, I think what this guy did was based as hell, because the other person was competing, winning unfairly. So he put this person, he gave this person a mirror, because the thing is, you're stronger than a bunch of women who biologically are women. But this guy, on the other hand, he put a mirror saying, hey, I'm a man who's stronger than you. I'm stronger than you will ever be in your entire life.
So I throw the question to you. What do you think about this whole thing? Do you think he should have done this to show how this policy is ridiculous? That anybody could just come and say, hey, I'm a woman, and then go break the women's world record in an event? You know, what's the answer? Should they not be able to compete in any particular event? Or is there some way to make it fair? Let me know in the comment section.
Yeah. But it was one of those things where this was 100% fucking justified by him in every single level. And he did well. He showed exactly the problem that the sport had. But anyways, that's all, and yeah.